Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today we're going to be talking about a classic game, one that I actually personally haven't played in years, so I was unaware that this whole situation was even really going on until a bunch of people came forward and started asking me to make a video talking about this subject, and that's when I started to do some research on the whole thing. The game we'll be talking about today is Team Fortress 2, which is what I would consider a classic game at this point. I feel like it's definitely etched its way into the history books of video games, and this game is surprisingly way more popular than I thought that it was. You know, I knew back in the day a lot of people were on it, but I thought over time, as most video games do, it kind of fell off a little bit and the player counts dipped pretty significantly. But looking at the Steam charts and everything and the player counts for this game, it actually has a pretty respectable player count still in it. As of me recording this audio, there's about 70,000 people playing. It's about 11 a.m., so that's pretty good numbers, I would say, right? On a day also where most people should be working or in school. It is a Monday after all, so that would only make sense. But Team Fortress 2 is facing a massive botting problem that is ruining the game for the loyal fan base that has stuck beside it for years at this point. And I feel like this can be an issue that could grow into an even larger problem in more video games, and it's something that needs to be addressed now. Valve needs to do their best in addressing this problem, because this is a game, number one, that has a history that doesn't deserve to be destroyed by this botting problem, and number two, there's still a player base out there trying to enjoy this game. Now, you know, if it was a game like Battlefield 2042, which, yeah, I'm gonna take shots at that game forever at this point, you would expect most of the lobbies to be populated by bots, because there's just not anyone really playing it, and this is the case with a lot of older video games. You have to realize Team Fortress 2 came out in 2007. This game is pushing 15 years old this year. This game has been out the majority of my life. So with that being said, Team Fortress 2 has a massive botting problem, and it's not, you know, just, oh, we're running into bots, you know, playing against AI or whatever in the lobbies. No, we're talking about bots that are literally destroying the game and its economy, basically sucking all of the fun out of the game. Any potential to play this game and have a good time is pretty much out the window. From the things that this community is reporting, honestly, Valve should be ashamed for allowing this to go on. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm some expert video game developer that I know what I'm doing better than Valve, but I would think that an issue like this would be pretty easy to solve, right? You don't see this constantly happening in a bunch of other video games, you know, where they have lively player counts and there's still a community around it. You don't see these botting issues where bots are literally auto-aiming you and sniping you the moment that you become visible and trying to grind out, you know, cosmetics and whatnot in the game so that they can be sold. On an average day, the IGN News tip line sees a slow but steady stream of messages from folks who want to let us know about something we might report on, maybe a handful of tips a day, but this past weekend the line was flooded in just a few hours with over 100 messages from a group of very frustrated folk, the Team Fortress 2 community. Why were so many of them in our inbox? According to the contents of all those messages, their game has a massive 2-year-long botting problem and they desperately want Valve's attention in getting it fixed. We weren't the only site getting these messages, nor were they limited to just the media. The source of the flood is a community centered around Team Fortress 2 content creator Squim Jim, who published a video on May 7th lamenting the rampant botting issues within Team Fortress 2. In it, he encourages his audience to reach out to both media and Valve employees in hopes that enough pressure will force the developer to take action. Squim Jim offered an email template which many of our tippers used, though others wrote their own messages, and a list of both media tip lines like our own and publicly available Valve employee emails. At this time the piece was written, the video had almost 150,000 views, 15,000 likes, and nearly 2,000 comments chiming in about their own frustrating experiences with bots. It'd be easy enough to dismiss the problem as the natural fate of a 15-year-old game or point out that the vast majority of online games have botting problems. How bad could this one be? But as IGN discovered, Team Fortress 2's botting problems are egregious when compared to other online multiplayer games. Head into a casual match on Valve servers and you'll find that the game is practically impossible to play. Now, they quite literally mean this game is impossible to play. The botting issue in Team Fortress 2 is so concerning that the community had to reach out to people and media outlets in order to actually get some sort of response from Valve, who, from my knowledge, have yet to respond to this whole thing in the first place. Now, yes, online games do have a botting problem, and it does happen in a lot of even major video games, where, you know, you got these massive studios working on them and whatnot, but they are not happening to the degree that we're seeing in Team Fortress 2. Like I said, there's a lot of games where, you know, you expect to see a bot or two every match, and then you have a game like Team Fortress 2 that still has a thriving community around it, where the botting problem is so significant that the game is quite literally unplayable to a good portion of the players. People also reached out to me to cover this. It's probably, at this point, one of the most requested topics that I've ever had on my channel. I know it sounds like I say that that every time we go through a topic like this where people end up reporting it to me and whatnot, but no, seriously, I've had emails, I've had tweets, I've had people in like YouTube comments, like there's probably been at this point a couple dozen, for me personally, requests for a video like this. And honestly, it's what really brought my attention to this issue. I had no idea that Team Fortress 2 would ever fall to this point where it had such a bad botting problem. While it's true that all online multiplayer games struggle with botting to some degree, most of the Team Fortress 2 community members I subsequently talked to seem to think that things got aggressively bad around 2 years ago in early to mid 2020. Incidentally, this was around the same time that the Team Fortress 2 source code was leaked. There's no specific proof that this was the cause of the botting issue, and it may just be a coincidence, but several community members pointed to that period as a tipping point all the same. Other theories around why the botting crisis has kicked off include a bizarre revenge plotline. As Valve seems less and less interested in pushing major updates to the game, some believe the botters rallied to try and make Team Fortress 2 so unplayable that Valve would be forced to pay attention to it again, or to drive new players to community servers. Some also suspect that bots are trying to acquire cosmetic items through play so that they can then sell for real money on various marketplaces, or perhaps they just enjoy trolling. But regardless of motive, since 2020 matters have only gotten worse, multiple articles have been written over the last 2 years about the botting wave, which has manifested in a wide range of obnoxious behaviors in any given match. Some bots spam chat with homophobic or racist remarks, outside links, or just plain rude or obnoxious messages. Most of the bots play as snipers, and because of their unnaturally precise aim, they're able to headshot and kill players almost instantly without giving them a chance to fight back. So you're playing this shooter game, you run out in the open or whatever, you're trying to play on the map, next thing you know, you just instantaneously get picked off the moment you turn the corner. Yeah, that would get very fucking obnoxious and make the game completely unplayable to somebody like me too. And I'm gonna go ahead and assume that that's the same case with the majority of you watching this video too. I would be absolutely frustrated at this situation, and it would probably lead me to not play the game anymore. So if this is really the community's way of trying to fight back against Valve not updating the game as much, or trying to drive players to the community servers, really not a good way to do so. All you're doing is killing the game even faster. And this is a game that's been able to actually survive for a pretty serious period of time. I mean, 15 years in the video game industry is crazy longevity. To see that a game with a history as rich as Team Fortress 2 could potentially be getting destroyed by a bunch of people trying to bot the game, honestly kind of depressing, even as somebody who doesn't play the game. I've been a fan of a lot of Valve's projects, and obviously Team Fortress 2, like I said, has etched its way into the history books of video games. It's something I think should be preserved instead of being destroyed. And it's depressing that Valve hasn't done more to address this issue. We're talking about something that's been going on for 2 full years. I find it hypocritical that people aren't as willing to call out Valve for issues like this as they are for other major studios. Like, can you imagine if Rockstar Games allowed an issue to fester on for 2 years in GTA Online or Red Dead Online? Can you imagine everybody dogpiling on Activision if Call of Duty had a 2-year-long problem in one of their games? Everybody would be nuking these guys. But because Valve is super respected, they're just allowed to get a get-out-of-jail-free card for something like this? I personally don't agree. But Valve has to have known that this has been an issue for a long time. I don't know why I said Twitch, but Valve has had to know that this is an issue for a long time. Obviously, they have like I would say background access to the game. They have all the numbers, they can see who's accessing the game and whatnot. They should have known by now that this is a problem. And I get it, it's a 15-year-old game, you may not see it as much of a priority in comparison to some of the other projects they've got going on, but at the end of the day, this is a game that still has a community around it. And I know I keep kind of harping on that point, but I think it's important that as video games go on, you show grace to the community that's supported your project for so long. These are some people who have stuck by this game for all 15 years. And if you thought it was as bad as being literally unplayable because you're getting instantly headshotted by bot players across the map with snipers, listen to this part right here. Some bots take on the names of other players in the match and then initiate votes to kick the original player, resulting in legitimate players being removed and then more bots flooding in. Some legitimate players have complained they've been kicked from matches simply for playing a sniper class because fellow human players assumed that they were a bot. Other players have reported running across bots that cause the server to lag significantly or simply cause the game to crash if anyone tries to kick them. And none of this is limited to an occasional bot here or there. As Jacob von Bugman, a regular Team Fortress 2 player, explained to me, there are, quote, people who pay for dozens of their own bots, flooding servers, grouping up with one another, and overwhelming human players and in-game chat. So these bots are quite literally ruining the game in every way. They ruin the gameplay, they ruin the matchmaking, they ruin the community environment around the game, and of course now, they're ruining even the fact that you can be in the game by kicking legit human players out or human players getting mistaken for bots, leading to some sort of like weird self-cannibalization of the community in Team Fortress 2. It really just isn't a good look for Valve because, once again, you know, this community has worked very hard to keep this game alive. I mean, I'm pretty sure just last year they set the concurrent all-time peak for players in this game, and that, by the way, is very impressive 14 years in. And then now you basically have Valve abandoning the game and allowing this kind of problem to fester. Not really a good look. You can make whatever excuse you want for Valve in this situation, but this is something that should not have gone on for 2 years. You know, I can understand if you have this problem for a month or whatever while you're trying to fix it, but to allow it to get this bad, and not only allow it to get this bad, but then allow it to continue on for this long, ridiculous. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and also call on Valve to fix this problem. I know they're probably not sitting here waiting on a video from Optimus to fucking decide whether or not they want to fix their game, but I would really like to see something done about this because it sucks that such a passionate gaming community has to basically get walked on like this by bots. It would piss me off too, it would upset me, I wouldn't want to play the game. So I mean, realistically, I gotta give a lot of credit to the people who continue to play the game even knowing these problems are going on, because that is like a crazy level of dedication to a game like this. So anyway, with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel, follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at @SubToOptimus. Make sure to check out Shop Opti down below. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus, well, talking about Team Fortress 2 and signing out.